The following is a show we're calling On the Horizon. It's a current events-based opinionated show punctuated by chill music. So what does that mean, current events-based opinionated show? Simply put, we start with the news and go from there. We talk about the impact current events have on us and further what that impact means to the progress of our country and our world. We don't pretend to be professional economists or political pundits or anything more than a few college students just trying to work out the problems in the world. It's all in the name of progress. The opinions are our own, not our station's, and it's all live. So, without further ado, this is On the Horizon. What defines who we are? It's a broad question which demands room for several open-ended answers. My name is Alex Popichak, and I'm joined in the studio by Kris Chandler, and this is On the Horizon. It's a new show all about life, news, and what impacts us. Further, it's about music and conversation. So, without further ado, here goes nothing. This is a segment we're calling The Week That Was. These are the headlines that caught our eye this week, courtesy of the Associated Press, the New York Times, the Post-Gazette, and the Globe.
3 inmates escaped an Orange County, California maximum security prison this past Friday. After an 8-day manhunt, all 3 fugitives were captured.
A Houston grand jury investigating allegations that Planned Parenthood sold fetal tissue for profit cleared the group of all charges. The jurors then indicted the 2 people responsible for creating the videos, which caused the uproar in the first place.
This week, we also started talking about the Zika virus on Tuesday, when El Salvador made the request for all women in the country not to get pregnant until 2018 because of the virus, which impacts the unborn the most.
The leader of the Oregon protests was captured Tuesday. Ammon Bundy is the leader of an anti-government group that occupied a wildlife refuge for the past 3 weeks.
And last but not least, Thursday brought the most recent Republican debate, which Donald Trump sat out. The debate was televised on Fox and moderated by Megyn Kelly, who previously butted heads with Trump, and so the race to the White House continues.
And so, welcome to On the Horizon. As I said before, my name's Alex, and I'm joined by Kris.
How you guys doing?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
So, again, it hit the news this week that Donald Trump sat out of the latest Republican debate.
Yes, he did.
And we talked about this earlier. So, what are your thoughts on that?
You know, I unfortunately, I have to applaud Trump for what he did. I mean...
Applaud him?
I have to applaud him because politically, I think he both hurt himself and helped himself. And the only reason I say that, because on one hand, you know, he wasn't at the debate, he wasn't able to talk about the issues with his components. Yet, on the other hand, he gave himself the attention that he always looks for. And Trump is a master at doing that, and here we are talking about him today. So, in the end, he got what he wanted.
You feel what he wants is publicity as opposed to jive with the GOP, which is he is vying for their nomination.
No, hands down. I mean, I believe on the eve of on the day of the debate, he hosted a rally for veterans, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, that's him kind of showing the GOP and showing Fox, themselves that he doesn't need them. You know, he's his own man. He's doing what he wants to do. He's taking things into his own hands, and hey, he's getting the attention that he wants.
So what do you think of Trump as like a candidate overall?
Now that's a different opinion right there. You know, I'm not a supporter of him. All right, but I will say I respect the man for doing his own thing. He takes action, and you know, some of the American people, they want action. They're sick of politicians just going out there and talking about the issues and not doing anything. Whereas Trump, he does what he wants, and he gets stuff done. Granted, he gets stuff done on his own time. He gets it done nonetheless. So I had to respect the man for that.
So overall, you believe that it was a good move to skip the debate on his part, or good move? You said politically, so
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say good for him to do that, but it wasn't bad for him to do that. You know what I mean?
All right.
He got the publicity he wanted. He got the attention he needed.
Of course. Do you believe he would have gotten the same amount of publicity had he gone in and said something crazy, or?
Yes, But he's doing something different.
Okay.
I mean, he's always on the stage saying something crazy, saying something outlandish that we always talk about for weeks. But this time, he was like, you know what? I'm not going to go to the debate. I had a problem with Fox earlier. I had a problem with Megyn Kelly earlier. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do me. Forget the debate. Forget all these issues that we keep going back and forth about. Nothing is getting done. Let me do something. Let me do something during my campaign. I'm not even president yet, and look what I can do. So that's what he does, and I wouldn't say it's a bad thing or a good thing. Again, he's just doing him.
Very interesting take. I agree. Trump is unlike any other candidate that I can think of off the top of my head. And honestly, this race is unlike anything I have ever seen in the past. And I think a lot of it goes back to how around the 2012 election, there was such an emphasis, especially in the Senate races and things, about this whole stigma behind career politicians.
Yes.
And I think this is a bit of the result of it, because if you look on the far right, you have Donald Trump, who is
not a politician.
He's not a politician. He's a businessman,
yeah.
And he's running for president, and he has a following. Perhaps because of that, or perhaps...
I think so.
I don't know where his following comes from, but I don't know where anybody's following comes from, to be completely honest with you.
And if you look at far left, I mean, you have what you just called career politicians. You have both Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, who has been in the political game for years now in multiple different positions. So they're what people would call those career politicians, and that is maybe why they don't have, they have the split support.
Yeah.
As compared to Trump. And I think, when it comes to politics, in my personal opinion, because I am a political science major, apart from a screenwriting major, I think, I would say that, there's a stigma of lying and cheating and just thinking about yourselves when it comes to politics and politicians nowadays. Therefore, the American society doesn't really trust them as much, which is understandable. But at the same time, you can't put the stigma on every politician. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's a case-by-case scenario. It's very situational. And every politician has their own agenda. And they have their constituents. They have everyone they have to look after. But personally, I feel that we need to take politics and look at it from a different point of view. Yeah.
And to divert just a bit, Iowa is on Monday, the Iowa caucuses.
Yes, yeah.
And just to point out, I had to look up what a caucus actually is, and it's like a town hall meeting of sorts.
It's different.
It's definitely different from what I'm used to. Here in Pennsylvania, we have the primaries, where it's just like the general election.
Yeah,
it's just divided by, you just vote. But with a caucus, you have to be registered with the party on the day of or before. And then each precinct has a caucus, which is a community meeting in a large space. And they have a set number of delegates to elect on to the next round, or however that works. So people vote with their feet. They go to different places in the room based upon which candidate they support. And in this case, the undecideds form a group, and they figure out how many people, based upon who showed up, what percentage of people would make a quote-unquote viable candidate that they could send a delegate to. And if not, then they realign, and there's a lot of moving going around. And by the end of the day, everybody is huddled in different groups in different corners of the room. The caucus leader writes down all of that. It's not a winner-take-all sort of deal, but it's very strange. And I don't know how I feel about it. It's just a thing that exists.
It's a thing that happens,
And I think it's a very interesting way of doing things. I'm not sure what the origin of it is, but it's certainly something interesting to think about. So do you think Iowa will, the actual results of the Iowa caucuses will reflect what each and every, the latest polls that you see publicized?
I feel that nothing would change. And the only reason I say that is because this election overall has been just different. There's something different about it. And I don't know if it's because of Trump, if it's because of the split Democratic Party between Hillary and Sanders. I don't know what it is, but I feel it's not going to change too much. We're still going to see Trump is going to be the front runner for the GOP. In regards to Clinton and Sanders, I think it's still going to be a close split. Clinton
as I was walking through Thayer Hall to print up some stuff right before we went on the air, and it said latest poll: Clinton 45, Sanders 43,
That's
and
about right.
I'm thinking, okay, why is this even news? They're running a tight race, and we won't know until Monday. Can we just let Monday happen?
Yeah, just let Monday happen, see what happens there. And again, after that, I think it's going to stay the same. It's going to be the same debate, same campaigns throughout.
And you still have, what was it, 14 different Republicans vying for the
14,
nomination?
14.
Yeah, that's insane.
Because usually by this point, I feel that, we could break it down to a solid 3. And we kind of can still. I mean, you got Trump, you have Cruz, and you have, what's his name?
Ben Carson?
Oh, yeah. Ben Carson, too.
He's kind of up there. I mean, I don't know the latest poll off the top of my head.
Neither do I. And I think that's kind of... It's sad a little bit in my personal opinion.
What it does is it effectively fragments the Republican electorate.
Already fragmented.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the GOP.
Exactly. And, I mean, I find it very interesting that the frontrunner does, Mr. Trump, does things that concern the general GOP, but to the people, he's still technically leading the polls.
Yes.
Again, we'll see Monday in Iowa what actually happens with that. But it's just interesting, and Iowa's generally considered like a watershed of
watershed state,
the start of all of the things.
We'll see what will happen. Like usually after that point, we see, okay, these are going to be the 2 candidates that we're going to vote for in the actual election. But after this, it's going to come down to Trump, obviously leading the GOP. Clinton,
but there's still some behind him.
There's still a lot behind him.
He leads, but he only leads like with a total of maybe 30 to 40% of the Republican vote. So he doesn't actually have a majority.
Yeah.
To say he's the front runner just means he's the most among the least.
He's the most vocal.
Yeah,
definitely.
okay.
Definitely most
Definitely.
vocal. I personally feel though that his time is going to come to its end soon, real soon. Because I think he can only do so much for so long to get the attention on him, to have the attention stay on him. And I think...
Do you think the damage has already been done, though? I mean, he shows up to these rallies, and there are people that go to the rallies, and there are people that support him.
What do you mean by damage?
Well, you say maybe his time has run, but does Trump necessarily have an end? I mean... obviously, in November, we'll know what the end of this.
He will have his end on November, most likely.
We'll see, yeah, and it's a rare occurrence where, you're almost not necessarily guaranteed, because I really don't want to say what's going to happen 10 months from now or 11 months from now, but the incumbent party, even though you don't have an incumbent, could possibly retain the White House just because of how fragmented the GOP and the Republicans are.
Definitely.
And it's just very interesting to watch this whole thing.
It is. Yeah, I can't believe something like this is happening. It's kind of new for the times. Trump is a new character in the game. He has a business background. But I think what people forget the most is that Trump has kind of a political background too. I mean, he mentioned running before. He has ran before, but he never really got out the gate when it comes to those elections. And if you look at his history, obviously, economically, he's mostly conservative, mostly Republican, big business Republican. But socially, he's kind of been in the middle. And I think people don't really realize that, probably due to his very outlandish comments about...
And his recent comments.
Yeah, his recent comments about immigrants and whatnot. But if you look at him in the past, he's been right down the line. So I think what people need to consider and what people need to think about is, like, who really is Donald Trump? He's a businessman, yes. Mm-hmm. Is he a politician? Maybe. I don't know. We'll possibly see. But who is he as a person at the core? Is the person we see on stage just a front? Is he just doing it for the attention, which we always think he's doing it for? Or is that actually him? We don't know. And I don't think we honestly will know. And as much as this election keeps going, I don't think we'll know either.
So Iowa, I mean, I think we're both in agreement, is not anywhere near the end.
No, it's definitely not.
And I'm not even sure it'll be an indicator of much of anything other than where these first few delegates go.
Yep.
So that'll be something we'll be talking about onward.
For a while.
Do you think this is indicative of what's to come? Well, do you think this kind of race is going to change how we look at politics? I believe in a way it has.
I think it should. And again, another reason to commend Trump for what he's doing. He's showing the American public, and he's showing politicians that, look, you don't have to be a politician to get in the game. You can be a businessman, you can just be a person off the street if you really wanted to. If you know the rights, if you know what needs to be done for the community, then you should have your voice heard. And if you want to run for these positions to help your community, then hey, by all means, go ahead and do it.
We're about to take a break, and on the other side of the break, we'll have some music that Kris has curated. You're listening to On the Horizon on 670 AM WPPJ, and we'll be right back. Hey, this is Alex, and I'm joined by Kris and Sam for our show On the Horizon, where we bring you our thoughts on current events and news. Join us from 8 to 10 p.m. on Saturdays right here on WPPJ 670 AM.